Ki te whaiau, ki te ao māramati hei mauri ora. E ngā reo, e ngā mana, e ngā ihi, e ngā wehi, koutou ko tā mai nei ki te aka mauri. Nau mai, haere mai, piki mai, kake mai. Ko Matariki tēnā, e rewa ake ana ki te pai. Nō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Nau mai, haere mai ki Matariki Tauira. Nau mai, haere mai ki ngā akoranga. Nau mai, haere mai ki te mātauranga. Nau mai, haere mai ki te mohi o tana. Nō reira, ka tika me tuku whakaro atu ki a rātou. Kua ngaro atu, kua nunumi atu ki te pō. Rātou, kua whetū rangi hia. Rātou ki a rātou, tātou ki a tātou. Te pito ora, tihei Māori ora e. Ladies and gentlemen, please, welcome to Te Aka Māori. Welcome to the time of Matariki. Welcome to Matariki Tauira. Matariki Tauira is a showcase of knowledge of the stars and the heavenly bodies. Last year, Matariki Tauira focused on the 9 stars of Matariki. But Matariki isn't the only heavenly bodies that you'll see in the winter sky. So this year, we have created Matariki Tauira, the winter sky. And today, we always start Matariki Tauira, and especially this year with the winter sky. Is that we start here at Te Aka Māori. Because what we do is that we ask a different staff member from council, from all departments of council, we allocate them a star, we give them 2 to 3 weeks to study that star, that whetū, that heavenly body. I keep saying heavenly body because in this year's Matariki Tauira, we will also be learning about different planets as well as our very own moon. So that's what we see in the winter sky. Today we're going to learn about Puanga. The beautiful thing about Matariki Tauira is that the person who is coming up to share their kōrero isn't a self-confessed expert. In fact, 3 weeks ago they knew nothing about the star or the planet or the moon that they're about to be talking about. So that's the beauty, because Matariki is something that we can all learn about. We don't have to be an expert. We learn about it and then we can integrate that into our own lives. But I'm not the speaker today. I'd like to call upon from the Haukainga. Hey, how's that nice? From the Haukainga, our very own JD. But today, Matariki isn't just the tohu te mātahi o te tau for te iwi Māori. There are many iwi around the motu that look to another star to mark the new year. Te mātahi o te tau. Here to talk to us all about it, I'd like to call upon Joanne Dillon, our very beloved Haukainga representative, JD. Anei. Pea, o mai te paki whānau.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko manga kawa, tōku manga. Ko wakato, tōku awa. No ke mureti aho, ko Dillon taku whanau, ko Joanne tuku ingoa. However, most people around these places call me JD. So my journey about Puanga started, as Kingi said, about 3 weeks ago. Knowing very little other than the fact when I lived down in the Holowhenua Manawatu areas that we celebrated Puanga a little bit more than seems to be up here. So I was aware of its existence. My knowledge or interest in the stars and our heavenly bodies started a long time ago in my early 20s when I used to go out late at night in the backyard and look up at the skies. And very early on, I developed a relationship with this constellation called Orion. And I was able to memorize 2 of the stars, the 2 brightest ones from this constellation, Rigel, or Rigel, depending on how you pronounce it. And this guy up here that I thought had a cool name because it sounded like Beetlejuice from the movie. So I did some more research over the last few days about Rigel. Learned it's the 7th brightest star in the sky. And you might think, well, if it's so bright, why isn't it as bright as our sun? And that's because it's a long, long way away compared to the sun. If they're all the same density, this blue one here would be the size of Rigel compared to the little sun up the top. And there's the big monster Beetlejuice down the bottom. However, it's not like comparing apples with apples because they're all made up of different densities of gases and other matter. So Rigel, or Puanga, is 120,000 times brighter than the sun, and the surface is almost 12,000 degrees hotter than the surface of the sun. So you don't want to go too close to that guy. Rigel isn't actually just one star, it's a quadruple star system. So there are at least 4 stars that astronomers are aware of. So back to the stars. This is Orion. And if we look at Greek mythology, we can see why people have compared Orion to a mythological creature called the hunter or the archer. There is his bow, his belt, and his sword that hangs down below his waist. So Rigel is actually his ankle or his foot. I stepped away from science at this point and started looking at stories. And I got a little bit confused because I started off with a children's book, which I thought was a good way of easing my way into my journey. And I read a story about a little girl called Puanga, who was a cousin to Matariki. Then I picked up this book that I found very intimidating, a whole tome about Puanga, lots and lots of pages, black and white photos, texts, numbers. It didn't look anywhere near as cool as the children's picture book. However, it told me some amazing things. It told me that Puanga is the oldest of 3 siblings, with Puanga being the oldest, then Tauira, also known as Sirius, the dog star, and Matariki. With that in the family comes a bit of jealousy and resentment, because while Puanga was the older sibling, and he was the one that was trying to guide his family to have a good harvest and to care for them over winter, Matariki is the guy that's getting all the attention. And that's not really fair. That would be how boys would think when they were children. So I explored a little more about my whetū, about Puanga. One of the first things I learned was that in Taranaki and other parts of New Zealand, they don't see Matariki, they say Puanga, and I learned that that's not actually 100% correct. Depends what time of day you're out looking at the stars, and the time of year as well. So both are visible in several parts of the country, according to my reading. Different parts of New Zealand, different iwi and different people have different beliefs and different folklore of their own. So I travelled across Aotearoa through this wonderful black book, learning what each of the different iwi believed. Ngā Puhi. This is the first one I learned, and that brought back memories of my own childhood. They don't see a belt and a sword. They see piwa, a bird snare, My brother and I used to go out in the front yard with a box and a piece of string and a stick, and we'd prop it open and hide, thinking that a little bird wasn't going to see our two bodies, and wait for a bird to go underneath it so we could pull the string and trap this bird. We never caught a bird. I don't know what we were going to do if we ever did, other than set it free or panic. But early on, Māori would trap tui. They would put this bird snare up in the berries of the trees. They would camouflage it so it looked like it was part of the tree. The tui would come along for a feast. Somebody would pull the string and trap a nice fat tui. So that's how Ngā Puhi see Puanga. Further south, Ngāti Tūhoe believed that he was the father of the kamurahau tree. Tainui, where I come from in the Waikato, Puanga was so revered with those people that they would name their sons after him. Ngāti Parau, they would instruct the spirits of their dead to fly towards Puanga, and they believed that the cosmos without Puanga was empty. Ngāti Kuhungu, they knew him of the father of a number of species of sharks. And in the Taranaki, of course, he was a real treasure in the sky, and they would follow his pathway across the night sky to return to Rarotonga. Rangitānei, they believed that Puanga was the pillar that propped up the Sky Father's sacred head. When you picture that vision, that you can see that that's quite an honour to give to a whitu. Moriori, I had to look on the map to see where these people were, and they are in the Chatham Islands. So I had to create a little triangle there on my map to signify them, and that's actually not to scale. They talk about the whata, food storage hut, and they considered Puanga to be the three pillars that held that platform up off the ground and kept their crops safe through winter. Kaitahu, down in the South Island, they would wait for Puanga to appear, and once he appeared, they could officially celebrate the opening of their whare purikau. That's what I learned about Puanga. At the end of my talk, I've been asked to reflect on what I've learned. And I felt a bit of conflict, because over here on your left is all the numbers and the luminosity and the density and the size and how many light years away these celestial bodies are. And that stuff just blows my mind, and I can't comprehend it, because if you tell me it's 100 kilometres to drive somewhere, I know that's going to take me about an hour. If you tell me something's 186 light years, that's way outside of my sphere of understanding. It's just too big. If I look at Greek mythology, and that doesn't really mean a great deal to me either, other than a shape. I can see where the sword and the belt belong on the archer. However, as I learned about these different beliefs, different stories about Puanga, it really brought it to life for me. When I hear Puanga now, I feel I have a relationship now with that star. I have stories to draw back on. And I know that they mean different things to different people, and that's okay. So when I was reflecting on which of these stories is true, including my children's book that turned Puanga into a girl, I decided that that's correct as well, because that's the way the author chose to portray the relationship. And throughout my learning about Puanga, I learned that what's special is the relationships. So for me, Puanga was a beautiful feature to learn about, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, JD. That was pretty awesome. Just want to acknowledge te rangi kaeke I tō tainga mai te konei, te whakarongo ki ngā koenero tēnā koe. I roto I tō matau mōhiotanga kia Matariki he honore nui. I think it's pretty awesome, JD, on our very first kōrero of Matariki Tauira, the winter sky. That we have the Haukainga, and such an awesome kōrero, but also we have Rangi Kaheke, who has come so knowledgeable in Matariki, and of course the winter sky, to be able to be here. He tohu nui, he tohu pai. Just want to acknowledge this very, very awesome, what an awesome way to start Matariki Tauira 2022 with it's like a buffet, it's like a real buffet, a little cornucopia of knowledge from different sources, and the joining, as it were, of that mātauranga. I loved it. I actually loved it to actually see the star, or actually the stars, right up close. So that was really wonderful, and also to see your appreciation as you started to read each book, each kōrero. And with that, for all of our whānau, we have a pathfinder, and there's a pathfinder on our chair just in front of you. And so if you're wanting to find more information about the winter sky, then please take one of these, and it will show you where in Te Aka Māori you can source more information. But with that, the huro, the mihi, goes to JD, Joanne Dillon, and something we didn't do last year, but we're going to do this year. Please give a big hand for our Matariki Tauira, kia Joanne Dillon, kia JD, o te paki paki kia.
Yay.
And tomorrow we have Ben Manley, who'll be talking about Tamanui Te Rā. It's amazing to see Rigel just engulfs our own son, but there are many stories about Tamanui Te Rā, and we'll find about more about this son and the relationship in terms of tirohanga and mātauranga Māori. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Katoa, there's a bit of a cup of tea there, whānau, if you're wanting something, but kia whakairia ki te tapu, kia wātea ai te ara, kia tūruki whakataha ai, kia tūruki whakataha ai, hauie huie, tā ai ki e. Tēnā tātou.